Yo, you know what this is, and you know who I am. But before we get started, check out the Pit Barbecue Grill, voted best Polish boy in the whole state of Ohio. Stop by the Pit for a taste of the best barbecue and homemade side dishes in Columbus. The Pit is located at 3545 Cleveland Avenue in the Northern Lights Shopping Center. Stop in and visit them today or order online through Amazon restaurants for a speedy delivery option if you're in the area. Visit thepitcolumbus.com for details of store hours and menu options. And now, without further ado, let's get it. Thinking out loud, we back at it, man. It's your boy Lip, and once again, we back in the building. Another week, we made it. Thank God we alive. I want to welcome the panel tonight, my brother, J.Rhodes. J.Rhodes, what's good with you, baby?
I'm feeling great, man. Bless the beer.
Representing the Shy.
Always.
And then we have, of course, the honorable and the most respected, the queen, Ashley. Ashley, what's going on?
Hey, everybody.
Ashley, what you representing right now?
DC.
DC. And this might shock y'all a little bit, but we got a little special sneaky guest in the building. He done crept his way in with his relevance to the topic, but that's our guy, our man, our G, D.Woods. D.Woods, what's good, baby?
What up, though?
What up, though? What you representing, of course.
West Side Detroit.
There we go. All right, so we got the Shy in the building, we got DC in the building, and we got the West Side of Detroit in the building. Of course, myself, Lip, representing Columbus. So, first point that I have for this topic is growing up, quote unquote, black, growing up, quote unquote, hood. J.Rhodes, what you think?
Yeah, I think.
All right, Ashley, what you think?
So growing up black is different. It's different from growing up in the hood because you can be white and live in the hood. It's a different term. I won't say it here, but it elicits the same response. So growing up black can mean black excellence, black leadership, black power. It doesn't necessarily always mean hood.
Okay, so growing up black doesn't mean you grew up in the hood, but you could be black and grow up in the hood. But you could be of other races or other ethnicities and grow up in the hood as well, correct?
Exactly.
I don't know. I got a counterpoint to that.
Go ahead.
But if you're black and you don't grow up in the hood because assuming your parents, made a better life, don't you grow up blackish?
Well,
I was about to say you could grow up in the hood. I mean, you could be black growing up in the hood, but not being of the hood though. Like you could be living in the hood and you still won't be a hood nigga.
Explain that.
Because you could be in a neighborhood but if your parents want you to be right, they won't let you out the house. You won't be hanging with hood niggas and all that. So you can be just a regular black person. Maybe you would be probably called a square to the hood niggas, but you can be in the hood and not actually be hood.
Say that again, Ashley.
I agree with that because I grew up in, I guess you would say, a neighborhood that had public housing and all of those elements mixed in. But my mom kind of sheltered me. She didn't let me go outside and play with the neighborhood kids all the time. There were specific kids that she knew that I could play with. Their parents came from a good background and things like that. So I totally agree with Darren.
All right, so Darren has a point. As you agree, J.Rhodes, what you think?
That's what I'm saying. But like, I just want to clarify, like, because like the hood, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to be, a hood nigga, as Darren put it. But like, most black people are concentrated in urban communities, what they call it, and a lot of times urban communities are poverty stricken, have poor resources, so those become the hoods.
That's more so ghettos.
Agree.
Like when they segregate the people and put them in one spot, that's a ghetto.
So what's the difference between a ghetto and a hood then?
I mean, hood is just short for neighborhood, but like a ghetto can be like a grid. It don't have to be specific neighborhoods. It could be a whole side of town. Because if you look at Detroit's downtown isn't the hood.
Well,
but the
not
ghetto
now,
is on
not
it.
now, but it was at one point in time. It was
downtown,
still hood.
Downtown was never terrible like that. Like it was never as bad as the neighborhoods.
Well, of course, because that's downtown. But let's not pretend that like Hudson's and all those companies didn't move out of downtown because it became a congregation for a lot of public housing and low income housing, you know?
So
Yeah,
you're basically saying, Darren, that the ghettos are, or the neighborhoods are worse than the ghettos?
No, what I'm saying is ghettos are just places where they put people of the same race or ethnicity or whatever you want to say in a spot. And
No, I agree with you because I mean that's what the definition of ghetto is. Just like you had Jewish ghettos and stuff, but when you okay, so coming from Detroit as well, a lot of Jewish people owned a lot of properties in Detroit way back in the day, along with the other European ethnicities. Black people moved in from the black bottom, and they moved on. So to Darren's point, you have nice neighborhoods like Boston Edison and Sherwood Forest, and those are nice neighborhoods. But let's not pretend that like three
they're
blocks
still
away.
in the ghetto.
Right,
They're still
right.
in the ghetto.
Right, exactly.
It's
So
just
you just
that
gotta,
that ain't the hood part of that area. That neighborhood isn't like the hood.
right. So I consider all of it to be the hood.
Yeah,
to a-
technically it is. It's all the hood, but it don't. All of them don't have to be like the quote unquote street hood neighborhoods.
Right,
Well,
right.
that's an interesting point that you brought up. So you mentioned street hood. So is there a difference between being a part of the hood of a black culture versus being a part of the street hood of black culture? I'm gonna ask that to D.Woods.
Oh, it's definitely a difference.
Explain that for
Like,
us.
well, I had a conversation with my friend today, and he was a drug dealer and all that stuff. So I had this conversation because I wanted to know, is there a difference between like a street dude and a hood dude? And he said, yeah, the street dude is a dude that makes money off of the street
Okay.
and feeds his family off of it. So it took my whole definition of what I thought a street dude was and erased it. Like, so he technically said, I'm just a hood dude.
Okay. So
Because I grew up in
no, go
I
ahead.
grew up in a bad neighborhood, claiming the neighborhood, being affiliated, fighting for it, and all this stuff. But since I didn't make no money in the street, I'm not a street dude.
That's interesting. So to that first point, then growing up black and in the quote unquote hood, there's even a separation between being from the hood or being from the street. Is that what I'm hearing?
Right. A hood person is just the mentality of the hood you from.
Okay. But a street dude
But a
is
street
from.
dude is profiting off in the streets.
Right.
Okay.
So what would be the occupations of a street dude? Like drug dealer, pimp?
Drug dealer, pimp,
Pimp.
gambler, dudes that hold dice rings in bandos and shit like that. Any like way to profit in the street is
Right.
what street dudes are.
Okay. So that is a very that's a very eloquent way to break that down. So now we have hood and we have street. So once we go to the next topic, talking about, is the hood quote unquote always good or bad? We kind of have to break that question up and say, is the hood quote unquote bad or is the street quote unquote bad? Now, Ashley from DC, what has been your experience between hood and street experiences? Have you seen both sides of that coin, or is that something that's specific outside of DC that you're just now hearing about?
It's actually the same. I just never thought about it that way. So I really, that just enlightened me. A lot of the times you do have the hood guys who claim the hood, and I'm putting up air quotes right now, but they go to work every day. So it's like, you're not really a part of a hood.
So they're like functioning hood dudes.
No.
Like a functioning alcoholic.
That person that go to work every day can still be hood though.
Right.
No,
Because
she
somebody
said
got to
that.
work.
Right,
Somebody
she
got to
said-
work and pay the
The
bills.
person,
Right, but
the
to be
person
clear,
that go
she
to
said
work
that,
every the person that works every day like an honest living, he could be a hood dude, but he's not a street dude because the street dude has to make his money in the
I'm
street.
saying. I just realized that there was a distinction, and I'm agreeing to
Yeah.
that. So yeah, no, I agree that the hood guys, at one point, before today, I thought the hood guys were the street guys. I didn't realize that there was a distinction. But now that we talked about it, there is a distinction. So you can be hood and still go to work every day, but you can be street and sell drugs and do all of those things and still have that same hood mentality.
See, I disagree though, because what I just heard was you can be a functioning hood dude. You could be a functioning person who grew up in the hood, like let's say West Side, or even if we really want to be honest, I mean, I know my bro J.Rhodes, you have some legacy with the East Side, right?
Yeah, I'm East Side all day.
So East Side all day, I believe that you would have an opinion about the fact that there's probably a couple dudes from the east side who weren't street, but they still grew up in the hood of the east side. So maybe hood is your environment, but to be street is your choice of occupation, if that makes any sense.
I mean,
Pretty
you could,
much.
yeah, you could categorize it like that. I actually agree with a lot what Wood's saying because, like I said, the hood dudes is the dudes who working probably some blue collar. You know, they come home, they still wearing like the baggy, big size clothes. You know what I'm saying? And they on the corner on the porch
We like to
smoking.
call them big and tall. We don't say baggy, just say big and tall.
You know,
Well,
whatever you want to call
that's a
it.
Detroit thing. They don't do that in DC.
Well, y'all ain't no real hood. I've been to.
What do they do in DC? What do they do in DC to
They're,
differentiate
they're
themselves?
metro food out there. They metro out there.
They're metro what? Metrosexual?
DC got some hood spots, though. I know
okay.
some hood niggas from DC.
No, I know. Detroit got. I mean, DC got a long history of some drug kingpins and stuff too. I'm just saying.
No, I'm just saying that the dress code is just a little different. So
Mm-hmm.
All right, so just so I'm clear, so just kind of closing out that point, your hood, you could be a hood dude, and just for a lack of better terms, just to kind of bring it full circle, you could be a hood dude from the hood environment. However, you may not be a street dude because you don't indulge or you don't profit off of the street environment. You're from the hood because that's your environment, but you don't profit off of it or you don't indulge in the activity of that hood, and therefore you're not street. Is that a correct statement?
Yeah.
yes and no, because I'm looking at it from a lady's perspective. I might live in a quote unquote hood area, but I'm not gonna go around as a young professional saying that I'm from the hood. I'm not gonna classify myself as being hood. Yeah, I'm not gonna do that.
Okay.
Yeah,
That might
and,
be for men.
to what she's saying too, it's people that live in the hood and still ain't gonna be hood or street. It's just
Right.
they gonna be regular.
Right. There's
Now
regular
how,
people in
does
the hood,
that, now, how does that work?
like white people or people who just choose to live in that area,
Not
but they
even
have an
white
adaptive
people.
mentality.
It's like she was saying, the parent that sheltered a kid from playing with kids out in the street, like that's the type of person gonna grow up and not be hood and grew up in the hood. Because
Exactly.
he ain't, if you don't get the mentality of the environment you stay in, you're not hood.
Yeah, I said white or
That
the
is
other
that
people.
is
Yeah.
by far one of the most profound things I think I've ever heard you say. That is, say that one more time.
What?
Oh,
What I just last said?
yes, man. That was very enlightening. Say that one more time. Just because you from
Oh
the
yeah,
hood.
if just because you're from the hood don't mean you're gonna be hood, because you have to adapt the mentality of the environment that you're in.
Okay, all right. I agree with that. Rhodes, any opinion, any conflict with that? Ashley, I mean, are we all in
No.
alignment with that? I mean, is that
No.
what it is?
No, we agree.
I totally agree.
All right, shit. Well, moving forward then. Is there an environment to be black and prosperous in our upbringing? Is there an environment that you could not necessarily be from the hood, but you could be born black in this world in America and you could still reach success in what I would, the straightforward answer from my opinion is the suburbs. We call it suburbia, but is there an opportunity where we can say that we give our kids an opportunity, or we were given an opportunity being from a suburban environment? And I kind of opened that question up because myself, just kind of giving a brief background, my family was from, born and raised west side Detroit. And then when my parents got a little money, they moved to Southfield, which is just north of Detroit. Put me and my sister in the Southfield schools, and that's how we flourished. We not necessarily would have done any worse being in Detroit public schools, because you still have Renaissance, you got Cass Tech, you got a lot of good schools in Detroit. I won't say a lot, but you had a couple options that you could put your kids in and they could still thrive, because those are the same people that I went to Michigan State with. But even still, in my parents' mind, they were like, we got to get up out this hood. We got to get up out this area to give our kids a better chance. So, is there a benefit to having an environment for black youth or a black family to prosper outside of the hood, but still remain authentic to being black and to still have respect for where they came from?
Well, I'll go first because I actually never lived in a suburb. I've always lived in the city, in the inner city of DC. So coming from where I come from, I still went to college. I still am a professional. I still am considered, I guess, higher earning. So it doesn't matter.
You ain't got to brag, girl. We know you got paper. We know you got that bread.
It's just the environment, like Darren said, it's the environment that you grow up in, it's what you're exposed to. Have you experienced things? So yeah, it's your education. So it's not about being from the suburb or from the hood. I know people from the suburbs that never went to college that work blue collar jobs, maybe in a lower economic status. So it's not really where you come from, it's what you know.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was
but
gonna say,
go ahead, D-Woods.
if you're gonna be a success, you're gonna be a success regardless of where you from or where you at. Because just think about it, like all of the rappers in the industry and everything, they come from the streets and they grew up either piss poor. Look at LeBron James. He grew up poor, made it out of where he from. So if you're gonna be a success, period, it don't matter where you come from.
I kind of agree, but
Now I get what it does make it harder for a lot of, like, if it's just negative and killing and all that shit going on in your hood, that is gonna take a few children down the wrong path because it's influential. So
yeah, like okay, my point would be like let's like every hood is not equal. You know what I'm saying? Like some hoods
Speak on it.
are way worse than others. You know, like I don't know how it was when you was a kid in DC, Ashley, or even the rest of y'all. But like when I was a kid on the east side, it was gunshots every night. People was getting shot, getting killed. My brother was in the streets and he got murdered. So it was bad at that time. So as a parent, 'cause my parents were not like, they were upstanding citizens for the most part. So it's like you want to give your kids an opportunity to do better in a least less dangerous environment like the suburbs. But going back to the point, to the original question can you still be black? Like you lose a little bit of those ties to the quote unquote hood when you're raised in the suburbs or away from the hood. Now you say, well, what's the hood good for? People just sit out there on the corner, drinking, smoking, blah, blah. But that you supposed to empower your hood. You're supposed to buy and own your hood and really make it a black diaspora. But
But you're talking about what you're supposed to do. I
right,
think
right.
we're
But
talking about what is actually happening, because that's not
right, hold
happening.
on, hold on. Let me finish my point. But when you have that black flight, like, oh, well, I'm going to put my kids in a better position to succeed without those ties to the hood, they don't go back home because they don't see the point of it. It's like, oh, it's you said on before, niggas doing the same thing. Why would I want to go back to that? So really, we lost all that wealth we had, that real estate, that land. We lost that because now we're moving on other
Let
things.
me be that devil's advocate then, and let me represent and say, why would we go back to that environment? Why would we go back to something that was considered a suffering environment? Why would you want to bring your family back to that? Go ahead, D-Woods.
because when you from it, you supposed to try to build it.
Exactly.
Speak on it. I mean,
That's
help
the-
me understand.
That's the reason why Detroit is in the position it's in now, because everybody that got money from Detroit, they didn't want to come back here
Right.
and buy up the housing here for them. They move out to LA. Now that money that they generating now is going to that city. They paying the taxes in that city. So everything is gonna get better in that city. If you don't bring it home, bro, after you get successful, the city ain't gonna build.
So,
Right.
Because
so
you
how can
either
you
go, either your money gonna leave to go to another city, or you gonna go to the suburb next to the city that they don't get taxed.
So how can we honestly expect people to stay in an environment where they feel like, for just a lack of better terms, there's not as much opportunity for the growth, and as a man, you're supposed to protect and provide for your family. So if there's not that same level of opportunity, or if the stakes are higher and there's more difficulty for you to protect and provide in that environment, how can we shame a person or even be disappointed in a man for saying, you know what, fuck that, I'm moving out of that environment because I ain't had nothing but drama in this situation, and I'm going to move to a place where I can have less drama, improve my quality of life, and give my kids a better opportunity.
Well,
Cause
I think first of all, you have to give back to your communities. I mean, a lot of people could move out of the inner city of DC, whatever you want to call it, but they're here, they're fighting a good fight, in quotes of what they call it. And it matters because the money that I'm making is going back to my community. Because I may shop there, or I'm buying a house there, taxes, all of that, but also the knowledge. So there's a lot of aspects of community that people don't realize. Like when you have to go to hearings and fight for certain things from your government, a lot of the people from the hood have maybe a lower education standard or experience, so they aren't able to do those things. So they don't have anybody to fight for them. So if all the educated folk leave the inner city or their neighborhoods, who's going to fight for the poor or the uneducated? So you got to have a mixed environment where you have people who are educated, who are maybe lower income or not as educated, so that it can balance.
Yeah.
You gotta come back to your hood.
So what I'm hearing from you is the incentive to come back to the hood is to uplift your own people, right?
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So
Of
let
Absolutely.
course.
let me ask y'all all a question right now. What if you feel like the people that you come back to in that community are people who are out to harm you?
Nah, that's just
And
part of that.
I don't mean a fear like a white person's fear of driving down 6 Mile or McNichols or wherever, and they can't stop at a red light because they feel like they're gonna get held up at gunpoint. I'm talking about realistic. If I feel like I've made it to a point where I, as a person, I'm just playing devil's advocate. I'm just asking if you made it to a point where you can do better for your family and for yourself, what is the incentive to come back to the community to actually build without being so separate or so distant? Because a lot of what I see is people will donate money, they'll donate their time to help rebuild a home, but no one really comes back to live and say, let's rebuild this community. You don't see that.
Right, Nelly did it for St. Louis.
You're starting to see it more and more in Detroit now, actually.
You
Explain.
definitely see it in DC a lot, and I'm a product of that. So yeah, definitely.
Speak on that, Ashley. You said you're a product of it. Go ahead. Speak on that.
Well, I could live in other parts of DC, but I choose to invest in this neighborhood that I grew up in. In DC, it's called Ward. So I live in Ward 7. Ward 7 and 8 are primarily black, predominantly black and impoverished, in quotes again. But then you have neighborhoods that are doing really well. The people there are excelling, and they have not left. And when I came
Hmm.
back from college, I knew you kind of go through some things going to go. But I knew at some point that I would always come back home and I would help change the narrative of my ward.
Okay.
Yeah, too. And another thing too, like the most powerful resource on earth is land, bro. So it's like, especially like going back to Detroit, because most of us are from that metropolitan area. Like Detroit is wonderful real estate. We near the lake. I mean, near the river, the water, Belle Isle, East Side. Like a lot of those areas have been torn down. East Grand Boulevard, Forest Drive. Those are prime real estate areas. If people were to go back and invest and build those areas up, because what's going to happen when they do build those areas up, we won't be able to afford to live there, and we had it
True.
for all those
True.
decades.
True.
Oh, you
You'll be
know that.
priced out. You see that a lot in DC too. And there's a lot of people, we have a lot of Caucasians now coming to our southeast, is what they call
Oh,
it,
they
neighborhood.
gentrifying.
Yeah, they're
Mhm.
gentrifying. Exactly.
Well, just for the
They
people, just to make sure that we clear for the people who don't know, when you say gentrifying, you mean they're outcasting the people who were owners of the land predominantly, and then we're raising the property value to the point where they can't afford to stay there.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
With that being said, we have a problem with gentrification. I agree with you 100%. But I still have to play that devil's advocate and say, okay, what can we do to change the status quo from the quote unquote hood environment and make it something that we can all say that we don't have to go back here to make it better because it's all right. And you don't, and the reason why I mention that is because you don't hear a lot or we don't see a lot of people of non color, white people, Caucasians, as was said by Ashley, to be politically correct. We know what you're doing. But white people in general, we don't see them coming back to their environments. Like, if you see some white people that live in the boondocks of, let's say, Marion County or, Mason, Michigan, or any other type of area, we don't see the same expectation that they take their money and come back, live and rebuild. So why is it so important for black people to come back and
Be-
rebuild in their environment? Go ahead,
because
D. Woods.
because the white areas are for white people. So they could go to any white area and it'd be okay because it ain't no system against them to oppress them.
And they own a lot of that stuff already. They own it. Like their parents own that house they grew up in, as opposed to our parents may have owned it at one point in time, refinanced for some other reason and lost the house or moved away and they're renting in their later ages. You know, they hold on to that wealth and pass it down.
That's actually a good point. Both of y'all made a good point that is actually true. And there's a lot of news articles that talk about the fact that there's a there's a discrepancy or a disparity between the black community and the white community as far as the I would say the passing down of wealth through inheritance and also through just preparedness for the next generation. So it seems like there's a lot of us who we have grandparents or parents even who could pass and we don't have a dime to our name, but we still are responsible for burying them. But with a lot of people of non-color, they leave buckets of wealth to pass down so that they can not only be taken care of for burying themselves, but also start their family off on the right path, give them enough money to buy a house, get them started. How do we change that expectation? Because it seems like it's a cultural gap right now. Ashley, I want to know what you think about that in DC.
So I just want to give credit to Jay-Z.
Here we go. Here we go.
What?
444. 444 out right now.
Legacy, all of that. Because it's important for the black community and black culture to celebrate economics, black economics, investing, all of those good things, family, legacy. Those are all important. And we don't hear that. We hear Molly and Percocet all day long, which
No,
is
Ashley, I gotta stop you for a second. Let's have an honest conversation about this. Like the same access that people had to Jay-Z's 444, the same access they had to Future and Mask Off. So you have two different messages. And let's be honest, when people are in a mode that they want to get turned up to, they're listening to Face Off. Like or Mask Off. I'm sorry.
Mask Off.
I'm watching Face Off because I'm watching the Nicolas Cage movie right now.
The funny
but
thing about
go
this
ahead,
whole
D.Woods.
thing,
Go ahead, D.Woods.
the funny thing about what y'all talking about is those are two street niggas.
But they
They
perpetuate two
speak
different
in the-
messages.
Yeah, but they speaking to two different demographics.
And they like 20 years apart in age too.
Okay, so
They're
I
not
disagree. I
20 years
disagree with the
apart in
demographic
age.
piece, though. I disagree that you're not speaking to two different demographics. You got one.
They are because Future is speaking to a younger street demographic.
Mm-hmm.
But also Jay is as well. He's saying instead of
Right.
dying over your neighborhood, how about you invest in your neighborhood? And these
Yeah,
young
but-
guys need to hear that too.
I know they need to hear it, but they not listening for Jay-Z.
They not.
That's what I'm saying. Like Jay-Z's music is out, but everybody ain't gonna listen to that shit. And a lot of them young niggas, they hear his production or how slow he bringing the shit up. They not trying to hear that. Them niggas be high.
Didn't I tell you,
wanna
Ashley?
hear like the same shit that Future is talking about. He talking about taking drugs and
But that's
and
a problem,
doing
though.
his-
That's a major
But-
problem.
Thank
That's
you.
what them niggas want to hear, though.
But that's a
Right.
problem, though.
Hold on, but see, my thing is, why y'all ridiculing Future so much? When Jay-Z was young, he was rapping about selling drugs, heroin, and coke too. Now, granted, he was talking about owning stuff, but it was still mostly about the drug culture. Future's a younger man than Jay-Z. He's talking about what's relevant right now.
Jay-Z
What
never
year-
talked about drugs. I'm
Exactly.
sorry, I will not.
What?
Go ahead,
I guess
Ashley.
you
Get him, Ash. Get him, Ash.
Never has he talked about using drugs. And
No,
he was
not
very
using, selling.
No.
I
Not
know it's a
using.
difference.
He's a
It's
drug
different.
dealer.
Yeah,
Right.
it's the difference between being a drug dealer and using drugs.
Oh
They're
yeah, I know
both
that.
harmful.
I know it's a difference.
Right.
Like
My point was that I applaud him for leveling up and understanding that there is an epidemic in the black community where we're doing drugs, we're disrespecting our women, we're leaving our families, and he's just trying to say, look, we gotta bind together and get this right.
But he's
But
also 60 years old and married.
Jay-Z's generation
So what?
Jay-Z's generation made the generation of users because they were the sellers. So the
Right.
kids that grew up are the users because he was a seller.
So there, of course, there was a time and place.
That's what I'm
but
saying. The Future
I
is
get
a
that.
crack baby. He
That-
growing
that's
up.
the
He
80s
he
and
already
90s.
predisposed.
We in a different
He
time.
growing up. Now they doing different drugs. They taking pills and sipping lean now. They
Sipping
ain't-
lean, yeah.
I don't
So
understand what y'all said that negated what Ashley said.
No, because you can't ridicule one man without looking at the fault of the other.
But you can't ridicule the man if it's a different generation. You're looking at Jay-Z, who came up in the 90s, and keep in mind, historically,
He didn't come up in the
crack.
'90s. He was in his musical prime in the '90s. He grew up in
Okay,
the '70s,
you're right.
bro.
He
Okay,
did not grow up in the
right.
70s.
Let's take
nah,
that back.
nah,
Yeah.
he grew up in the '80s.
Exactly. So we negated J.Rhodes, so we about to mute him. So
He was
now
born in
moving forward,
1968.
Don't mute him, though.
moving forward, we're looking at he grew up in the 80s, crack epidemic. He speaks on it multiple times. Now you're telling me 3 decades removed from that, we're still saying that we give people a pass because
Exactly.
we're talking about the epidemic we had as a country, like literally laws from the Clinton administration, from I mean, it goes back
Reagan
to
first.
my
Reagan
man.
Reagan.
Exactly. Okay, so y'all supporting my argument. Is the whole point is the shit started.
No, but what I'm trying to say is this: Jay-Z is a street nigga. He can't tell Future, or he can't act like it ain't a demographic that Future isn't talking to because he was in that same position when he
Right.
was younger. He was
Bro,
talking
but it's
about the
been
young
30
rebellious
years.
shit that they wanted to hear.
But
Right.
it's been 30 years though.
But-
Like,
but-
how
Bro,
can we?
you're talking about a younger guy versus an old.
Exactly.
Like
Why y'all
the
keep
OGs
on
be
doing
telling,
that?
like, look, the older niggas in the hood will tell the young boys don't do that crazy shit because they did it, but they gonna do it anyway because
Why?
they
So they
they
not
gotta
listening.
live through that.
So they're not
Nobody
listening.
listen. A man gonna do what he want to do. He gotta learn his own way.
So what's the point in even teaching the young man then? What's the
Exactly. So how do hold on, guys? So how do
Listen,
we
some
explain?
point?
of
Hold
them
on,
like
hold
to
on.
be
Ashley, go
persuaded
ahead.
by it.
Let Ashley speak.
Hold
Hold on.
on.
Go ahead.
Hold
Go ahead.
on.
I'll let it go.
How do we explain the white community who listen to their parents and benefit from the wealth and the investments? They listen to daddy to start this business, to use these investments to run the business, the family business. So why are our black boys listening to the community, or I won't say dads because some of them aren't around, but
Most,
The old head. We'll say the old heads. They
The old
listen
heads.
to the old heads.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say most of their community ain't like that. You're gonna have a few OGs that's gonna speak knowledge to you in the hood, but those are gonna be few. But most of the people around you gonna be of the neighborhood, and they're gonna be doing street shit. And then it's up to your parents or something in you that just want to do right.
But where do we draw the line and say, okay, enough is enough? It's time to move on.
I don't understand. I don't understand why y'all expect Future to grow up when he's not 50 years old and not married with 3 kids. Like, granted, he got more.
I'm not mad at
kids than me.
Future.
That's 4
I'm
kids.
mad at the people.
Right,
who-
right,
wow.
but I'm saying
Wow.
Jay has evolved in front of our eyes from a
He
guy who.
still need to evolve. He's still out here cheating.
Right. I mean,
Wow. Here we go.
that's
Still out here being-
a
he's
human
still
thing.
wasn't enough.
I'm not gonna go on that, but I'm just saying, like, Jay-Z's a far different place musically than Future is. So why are we trying to hold Future to that same standard when he got years to grow too?
Because we're asking him not to introduce that type of lifestyle to the community of taking Molly and Percocets and leans and all of that.
Exactly.
That's really affecting the community.
Listen,
exactly.
I see it every day.
So it was okay when Jay-Z was talking about selling coke.
Selling coke and using coke is 2 different things. I'm
Exactly.
sorry.
So
I
it's
agree.
okay to sell it
so
to
it's
your
okay
to your
to
auntie,
say sell it.
right?
No, I'm not saying it's okay to sell it, but me selling drugs to feed my family is different from me being on drugs hurting my family. It's a difference.
There
Nah,
is. There is.
Nah,
Hey, listen. I listen to so much Future. That nigga Future say he'll sell that shit to his auntie if he had to, or his mama
That's
if he had to.
not good though, man.
But
Like
Jay-
that's
Jay-
terrible.
Jay-Z
Selling
said
it.
the same thing. Jay-Z said the
He's
same
selling
thing.
it though.
But bro, my thing is
So
this:
y'all
it's
saying the selling part
2017
is
though.
acceptable, but the using ain't.
So
Well, look how much we have gone through as a black community. At this
Speak on it.
point,
Speak
we
on
need
it.
to change.
Speak
I'm
on it.
not arguing that, but I'm just saying
No,
just
I ain't
because
arguing that, too.
somebody at the end of their career and talking some different stuff, don't act like you turn your back on everybody else who growing up the same way he did.
But Rose, what you're negating in this whole argument about what Ashley is saying and what I'm saying is, and even D.Woods is agreeing with you, but my thing is, where do you draw the line and say, okay, enough is enough? We learned. Where do we learn?
Yes.
If you want to learn, listen to Christian rap.
Wow.
Don't listen to
Wow.
trap
This
rap.
nigga wild.
Wow.
I'm just saying, like, you don't have to listen to this type of music if that's not what you
So
want.
black music, which is historically hip hop. So let me make this clear: black
Black
music,
music
which
is
is historically hip
historically
hop.
R&B, bro.
Okay, R&B, hip hop, whatever the fuck. Black music, what we're saying right now is going to lead to the detriment of our people. So don't ever change it. It is what it is. Molly
No,
Percocet.
you got some people to listen to. You got J. Cole. You got
No, we're talking about the people that
Kendrick.
we're talking about the people that y'all are saying right now. We should not expect them to be different because Jay-Z in 1998 dropped the Volume 2 album talking about hard knock life, selling bricks and moving that weight. And we should still in 2017 say, you know what? Jay had his chance in 97. So in 2017,
No,
we should still be thankful that he's still pushing that type of metaphor because it's a new person.
Bro, Jay just did Drug Dealers Anonymous. It ain't been long since he had a drug song.
Bro,
He's
it
still
was
talking that shit.
that's my point. It's been too long. Like where do we draw the line and say, okay, it's time to do better for us? For us, this is us. We
But like
talking about
what's
three black men and a black woman right now.
He giving you a dude. He's a street dude, so he's always gonna go back to what he originally rapped.
Not always.
Right. But
Now when he's talking about buying portraits that are he bought worth
but
$1 million,
this is what I'm saying. He's gonna have that. Like the bulk of his CD is the black empowerment shit, but he's still gonna have like when he talked to the drug dealers on the track, he tell them to buy the shit, and that's how they rinse their money. He's talking to drug dealers. He ain't
Exactly.
He not
It's
just
okay
talking
to talk to drug dealers, but it's not okay to tell your young black men to be on Molly and Percocet all day,
Exactly.
looking depressed, mentally ill, and then they grow up on the street.
Dog, I'm trying to be as blunt as possible, but the motherfucker said Percocet, Molly Percocet, chase a check, never chase a bitch. He said this, which means let's get on these drugs and let's get this money and never love these women. And if you really want to get down to the essence of it, hold on. If you really want to get down to the essence of it, he's saying never chase a bitch. He's talking about black women. That's at the essence of it. That's what it is.
Nah, he ain't talking about black women.
About women.
He's talking about all women.
Okay,
Right.
so all women. So we say
Okay,
chase
that makes
a
it
check,
better.
chase a check, never chase a bitch.
I mean, I'm just saying, y'all.
Let's get high.
don't
Let's
try
get
to
high
make
and
that,
never.
like a black thing. He's like dissing his own women.
But we black, and that's what we talking about. Like
He's saying, listen,
But he
bro, like,
he sleeps with all kind of women.
He's saying all women, and he mostly say he do foreign girls, so he ain't really even talking about black girls. When
here
he
we
say
go.
that.
So now we're defending him because he only does.
No,
foreign girls.
I ain't defending him. Y'all trying to make it a black thing when
Right.
he's
Yeah.
saying.
Mm-hmm.
But if
It's
you're
all
talking
women.
about all black boys, you dated Sierra, who was black, you abandoned her.
All
So
his baby mamas
who else
black.
are you talking to?
He talking to people who listen to his music, but that don't mean that you have to be limited to one race.
Like dudes, a rapper, he gonna live his life. He gonna hit a whole lot of women. He ain't gonna be hitting all black girls all the time.
We're talking about the message that he's sending to black boys. And because he's been seen with all types of women, but he was engaged to Sierra. That didn't work out for whatever reason. Some people say he abandoned her. But my point is, you can't send that message to our black boys or our black girls who's listening to that. Let's level up like Jay-Z did.
I love that phrase. Level up.
Listen,
I love that phrase. Level up.
Jay-Z is like in a 20-something year career, and now he's talking about like this.
And
you
let's
gotta
not
give
forget
Future his time.
that Jay-Z just barely survived an affair with Rachel Roy, or aka Becky. So it ain't like he perfect either.
He never said he was perfect on 444, as you can hear, but he is acknowledging that we need to stick by our women and build our families. That's
true.
What legacy
and
is.
he acknowledged he fucked up.
He wasn't sticking by
acknowledged
Beyonce when he was sticking with Becky.
Bro,
I'm just saying.
He acknowledged he fucked up, though. That's the thing y'all keep ignoring. He said he fucked up. That's the problem. No one is ever willing to say that
Right,
we fucked up. At the end of the day, for what we have and what we've discussed as far as living in the hood, living or being from the trap, living that whole hood street lifestyle, blah blah blah. We've been black, we all black here. How do we look forward to raising our children, which I know somebody on this podcast right now has two daughters who he's raising very well, which I applaud him for that. But, and that person is D.Woods. But regardless, how do you plan on raising the next generation to get away from these stigmas that we have where we're talking about the same music that was a detriment to us when we was coming up? Where do we draw the line and say, you know what, baby, you can do better?
We talking about music or we talking about the environment?
We talk about both because they want the same.
Yeah, I think
music is the environment.
Exactly. Thank you.
But you can listen to music in the suburbs. It don't matter where you at. The music is the music. White people party too.
Nah, I can't agree
White
with
people
that.
take Percocets in the suburbs too. Listen to Future.
But are we
Yeah, I
talking,
swear to God.
are we talking about white people though, or are we talking about thinking out loud, which is for black people?
I'm asking you to clarify because you're trying to blur the lines. We talking about the
So
hood.
let me make it clear. Right now, in the hood, being from the hood or being from the street or being black in general, we have a certain source of what we consider to be entertainment. Now, that source of entertainment is detrimental to the growth and to the development of our people. What do we do to change that? How do we change that?
I mean, we can change it, but we got to have some leaders. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the biggest thing with black people is we don't have no leaders to show us no way.
Oh, no.
I disagree with that.
Get him, Ashley. Get him, Ash.
I hear that so much. All of us are leaders. Everybody is a leader. When you're raising your kids, you're a hell of a leader because you have two lives you're responsible for, as well as myself. I don't have kids yet, but I represent a whole community. So what I'm doing for kids in the community is just as good for the black culture, the black community as a whole. So we all are leaders. We all have to do our part. We all have to step up. And that way we push the progressive agenda forward for black people.
I just want to also say that like what Dr. Boyce Watkins said, I don't know why we feel like we have to have this one like messiah leader. There's plenty of leaders who you can just pick and choose what you agree with. Like, you don't have to follow their personal example. You don't have to like them personally. But if they have an initiative that you agree with, what's wrong with just following them on that particular issue?
Yeah, that too.
Okay.
Lip.
I'm waiting.
I don't, but I kind of don't.
There we go. See, I knew he was coming.
I'm the leader. I'm the leader of my house, but I don't feel like I could lead a people. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's different types of leaders. It's people that think that they can. King thought he could bring his people to the promised land. And he probably would have if he never got killed. And those are the people that they killed who really could do something about what's going on.
So
why haven't they killed Jay-Z?
With that, I agree with that because
Jay-Z
they
isn't
did though.
Like
he made a song that said "Kill Jay-Z." He said, "I know I need to die." Kill Jay-Z.
He was metaphorically saying kill Jay-Z because he's Sean Carter, and Jay-Z is the moniker he acts as that got him in trouble with his wife.
See, no, I disagree. I think what he's saying in that is kill Jay-Z because he even apologized for leading the youth astray. If you listen to the album, he actually says,
That's what I'm saying. But that's what I'm saying. Jay-Z is the moniker. That's who he's portraying. But he's Sean Carter to his wife. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think it was about his wife.
I don't think it was either. I'm just saying, period, that kill Jay-Z mean kill the person he been portraying this long career.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think that he was saying that everybody else wants to kill him for what he's saying because he's speaking the truth on those tracks. Like how those lyrics were at Kanye. He went at him. He went at the black community, some of the faux leaders. So he's saying, kill Jay-Z. Everybody wants to hate and kill Jay-Z, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Nah, I think to Wood's point, because he was really coming at himself for most of the track.
He was.
Like, I sold drugs. I shot my brother. Like, he like to Wood's point, I used to be this street dude with no morals, but now I have a wife. I have a daughter. I have to do better. He did go on a tangent on Kanye, but he was basically saying, like, I did this for you. You didn't see it. So it's like, damn, like, kill Jay-Z. Like, I think he really talking about himself like all the way.
Nah, see, I agree with Ash. I believe that he was talking about kill Jay-Z, kill the person that I led y'all astray against. Somebody's shuffling cards right now. Y'all playing Uno?
No. No, I just opened my door to come back in the crib. My daughter's asleep.
So all I'm saying is this. I feel like with Kill Jay-Z, he was basically saying kill Jay-Z because of what I told you what this life was supposed to be about. I led y'all astray. I told y'all how to sell this. I told y'all how to move this. I told y'all how to make this money. But you know what? Kill me for what I taught y'all. And I apologize for that. And he actually said, I'm sorry for leading y'all astray. He said it. So how can we try to manipulate what this man said and say, nah, he just meant that about his girl and, you know, his infidelity? No, it was bigger than that. When he said kill Jay-Z.
You totally incorrectly paraphrased what we just said, but go ahead.
Regardless, what I'm saying is with Kill Jay-Z, regardless with Kill Jay-Z, all I'm saying is it's proof that there's someone who can see that, you know what, I'm from the street and I may have made a wrong move and we can move forward from it if you believe and listen to what I'm trying to tell you. And so
go ahead.
That's exactly the point of raising the next generation. When I raise my kids, I want them to listen to Jay-Z, sure, but I want them to hear the message that.
Why you laughing? Hold on. Why you laughing though?
Because Jay-Z hater.
No, I love Jay-Z for what he is, but y'all really put Jay-Z on his pedestal. I feel like Jay-Z is like Woods said, he is a street dude. He has so much double entendre, drug references, and I feel like y'all accept it and promote it, but y'all condemn Future and Lil Uzi and these guys who take drugs to fight the depression that people like Jay-Z cause. Like you said it perfectly, bro. Like why y'all don't connect the dots on that one though?
The issue with Lil Uzi and the rest of them, they're depressed and they're feeding their depression with drugs. That's a problem. We want black men to go to the hospital, to go to the psychiatrist. We don't want them feeding it with Molly and Percocet. I'm sorry, I can't endorse that.
Me neither.
I can respect that. But then y'all celebrate the man who made all this money on drug dealing. Granted, he turned it to something legit, but he's very quick to throw it in your face. Like, I made that off drugs. And y'all just like, yeah, black excellence. Like, yeah.
Because the whole...
Wow.
No, seriously, a lot of black people, that's the only way they could make it back in the day, in the 80s. And they had to sell drugs because that was all that was given to them from an economically viable occupation. So when we defame drug dealers, I mean, are you really going to defame him for the rest of his life because he was a drug dealer?
But okay, that's a good point. But here's another counterpoint.
No, answer the question though. That's a question. Let's answer the question.
I'm gonna say no. Like I said, that's a good point. But here's my counter.
So you said no. I just want to make sure.
I said no. Okay.
Okay. All right.
But a lot of times, these great all-time artists, Picasso, all those dudes, they were Basquiat. They were suffering from depression, mental illness, making these wonderful pieces of art that people thought they was trash during the time. Now they're worth millions of dollars. That Jay-Z rapping about right now. How come the little Uzis and Travis Scotts aren't those same people right now? They're going through the depression. They're making pieces of art, their music. You may not like it, but this is their work of art too.
This is promoting using drugs to self-medicate mental illness. Picasso never did that. He never painted.
Nope.
He was too busy cutting off his ear and doing all kind of crazy stuff though.
Wow.
Because he was depressed.
So maybe he wished he had some Percocets.
All right. So with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and end this shit right now. First off, I want to thank my bro J.Rhodes. J.Rhodes representing the Shire. I appreciate you, dog. Love you, bro. Thank you for joining us. Anything you need to say?
Molly Percocet.
All right. I want to also thank Ashley. Ashley, anything you need to let these people know to kind of just cleanse their palate from what we just heard?
Yes, some cleansing needs to happen, some purity. No, I just want to let everybody know you can be a leader in your own community, in your own homes. We have to rise up, level up.
I thank you for that. And then lastly, my dog, D.Woods. D.Woods, anything you want to say before we close out, bro?
Nah, I ain't got nothing long drawn out. I'm gone.
All right, then. Well, we appreciate y'all. All three of y'all, for joining in and putting respect on my name with this whole podcast episode. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And right now, You know, this is what it is. Thinking Out Loud, and we out.
This episode of Thinking Out Loud was executive produced by J. Lip. Music provided by Daisy Smith. Artwork and logo provided by Rob D. And sponsored by you, the people. We thank you for listening.